What's up, y'all? Today we talking about how Christians create soul ties. That's right. But actually today I'm going to be speaking about the psychology behind how Christians create soul ties. So basically I'm going to be speaking about the mind, how the enemy takes control of our mind, and that's how he ties our souls to his lies or to the world's ways or to culture or to society or to people. Right? What happens in our minds, because the enemy wants our mind first. All right. And I know some of y'all might be like, well, soul ties is not biblical and the word ain't in the Bible. Yes, so the word soul tie is not there. But if you look at 1 Samuel, you'll see what David and Jonathan, King Saul's son, where it says that their souls were knit together. Right. And that was showing a brotherly love, an attachment for one another, to love each other like brothers. True brothers, right? So where I want to start at is where everything started at. I want to start with Adam and Eve, of course, right? Because it all boils back down to them anyway. So let's go back to Genesis 3. Matter of fact, right? So I want y'all to understand something when it comes to soul ties, right? Soul ties usually happens, like we usually get pulled into sin, right? Into the things that we shouldn't do when it comes to our environment. Right now, I want y'all to see something. Adam and Eve was in the garden. That's God's environment, right? But God told them not to eat from that tree, the tree in the middle, the tree of knowledge, right? He said, don't eat from that or you're going to die. They went over there, right? And Adam and Eve started, looking around. Oh, this looks good. Oh, and guess what happened? The serpent showed up. Now I want y'all to see something. The serpent was basically a snake, right, on the tree, looking like he was just chilling, right? But y'all gotta remember that tree and whatever was on that tree, especially a serpent, whatever's on that tree looks like it's a part of the garden, right? Now you gotta understand, a snake is usually in a garden. A snake was talking to Eve. It looks like he's supposed to be where they're at. You understand what I'm saying? He looks like it. He's portraying to be something that he's not. He looks like he's a part of the environment, right? So now Eve talking to him, he talking back to her. Hence what I'm saying, he's talking back to her. And I want y'all to understand how the devil pulls on us, how he creates soul ties. A lot of times it's through our weakness. Now, some of y'all might disagree, but even the Bible shows this, right? Women are weaker to the ears. When it comes to hearing, men are weak to the eyes, right? And I know somebody might argue, so let me explain this. Adam, when he saw Eve. She ain't say a word to him, pulled, made her his wife. Eve, on the other hand, was pulled by what was said to her. When you get to that tree, the enemy said something to her. And guess what? It kind of sounded like what God was saying, because the enemy is like, but God said, and she's like, no, God said, and he's like, but God would know. Everything that he is saying, you got to understand and pay attention. Everything that he is saying, he's saying God's name after. And remember, he's in a tree that looks like it's in the garden, right? He's in a tree that is in the garden, God's garden, right? Now, this is the tree of temptation, the tree of lies. You understand what I'm saying? Now, you got to understand that she started to believe what she heard. You get what I'm saying? She started to believe what she heard, and she was pulled. She was pulled. So once she believed what she heard, now she was tied to that lie, right? Now she was tied from the lie, and then she was trying to hide. Obviously, she gave it to Adam. So they're both tied to this thing, to this sin. They're tied to it. And I always tell people that tree is a representation of the world, right? Because you have God's truth and you have the world, right? So that tree and the enemy is a representation of the world speaking to us, of the world presenting itself to us. The environment of the world is encouraging us, is influencing us, and it looks like it's a representation of God, right? It looks like this, and the enemy lies to us so it can pull on us, all right? So that's where I wanted to start when it comes to these soul ties, because we could see where it clearly started. This is why our souls get tied, right? Now, I know it's good soul ties and it's bad soul ties, and we're talking about the bad soul ties today, because obviously I brought up Jonathan and David, which is really a good soul tie, right? God wants our souls to be tied to him. That's a good soul tie. God wants us to be tied and knitted together when we love our family and we love each other in relationship marriages, right? Kingdom godly marriages, right? But now outside of that, he doesn't want us to be pulled. He doesn't want our souls to be tied to the enemy, right? You ever heard the saying of you sold your soul to the devil? Think about it, right? When people say that, they're really talking about you sold your soul and who you are is wrapped up in the world, is wrapped up in what you have, is wrapped up in money, is wrapped up in being seen, is wrapped up in all this other nonsense, right? So that's why they say you sold your soul. So you basically have a soul tie. Now I'm gonna explain this soul tie thing in another way, right? Multiple dating. I know y'all probably heard it. Your family probably always tell you. The world, hence what I'm saying, the world tells us that it is okay to date all these other people. To go on dates, right? You hear it all the time. Nah, go ahead and date. Like, you're not married, you still single, go ahead and have fun. And I always tell people that's not cool, bro. Like, that's not cool. And that's because I understand the mind and I understand how the enemy works. All right, stay with me, y'all. Stay with me. So now me, on the other hand, what I do is I don't date all these women. I don't go on different dates every single week trying to test women out, trying to see who's who. You know, like, I got this woman that I'm going out with this day. I got this woman that I'm going out with this day. I'm going out with this woman this day, right? I don't be texting mad different women on a regular, right? Because you got to think about this. You got to think about this, y'all. It's not only us being tied, right? We can't just think about our souls being tied or we being attached to someone else or somebody pulling on us, right? But we also got to think about others, right? So I'm still explaining, we could both be on either side of this explanation that I'm saying, right? So for the reason why I do not multiple date, because like I was saying, I'm not going out with all these different people. I'm not texting all these different people because guess what? You got one woman who may like me. You got one woman who's just communicating with me. You got another woman who feels like this and who feels like that, right? They're all different. But guess what's happening? I'm giving them my time from texting to FaceTiming. And if I see them, they're getting my time. And you know what starts to happen? Attachments start to happen. And guess what? Every single person that I'm speaking to and I'm going out with, they all have their own situations in their life or different issues, right? Somebody may not have their dad. Someone may not get as much love in their life. Someone may not have somebody that communicates to them all the time, right? They all have different things going on in their life, right? Now, if I consistently keep talking to these women, right, that grows an attachment, right? But let's just say I don't like one of them, right? Or I do like one of them, or I have a little distance towards one of them, right? I forget their birthday, this and that and this, but I'm speaking to them on a regular. I'm talking to them on a regular. These women start to attach themselves in some type of way towards me knowing that I may not like one of them. Now, guess what's happening? A soul tie is starting to happen because I know a lot of people think it's just sex, but let's just say that I did have sex with some of them. Now, I'm abstaining. This is just an example. I'm abstaining from sex until marriage. But this is just an example. But let's say I'm communicating with them, I'm talking to them, I'm having sex with all of them, right? Or maybe a couple or one. But at the same time, I'm over here like, well, I'm just dating. Or I'm telling them like, we just friends, right? Not thinking about how it can affect them. Now, on the other hand, let's bring it to myself, right? Because that can grow a soul tie with them. But it can also grow a soul tie with the other person, right? How, Rudy? How? Because I'm consistently going out with different people, communicating with different women. This woman over here, she's extremely giving, caring. This woman over here loves cooking. This woman over here loves affection. The other ones don't give affection. This one loves affection. This one loves talking to me every day. Guess what? I'm texting them, right? Some of them giving me morning texts. Some of them giving me nightly texts. You know, they're doing different things for me. And you know what starts to happen? It goes into my mind. And y'all know what happens when things are repeated in your mind? There's something called the subconscious and the conscious, right? The conscious is you're aware, the unconscious is you're unaware, and the subconscious is literally the mind that stores, right? When something is repeated, it consistently stores inside of that, which actually creates your world, right? You ever heard of when you grow up and now you go into a therapist and they're like, well, how are you and your mother? What happened with you in your childhood, right? Do you know what happens in your subconscious, right? Because most people's issues, most people's trauma come from their childhood. How does that happen? It's because of your subconscious mind. When you're in an environment, right, what you're used to all the time or what repeats itself goes into your subconscious mind, which you are unaware, right? And this is what the devil uses. This is why he is the darkness, right? He's full of darkness. Darkness means you can't see, you can't hear. It means you're confused. You don't know. You are unaware. Now, God is light. Light helps you see. God is light, so he helps you hear. He helps you see things, hear things, and understand what you didn't understand. He reveals to you what you didn't know, right? You are aware now, fully aware through God's light. But your subconscious stores what you don't know. So if your subconscious stores what you don't know, then things that you're not even paying attention to starts to go into your brain and it starts to program your mind on autopilot. So this is why people get defensive, right? And I'm just connecting the dots. I'm gonna go back, but this is why people get defensive and they don't know why they got defensive. This is why you got smart with somebody and you don't know why you just did it just like that. This is why you snap. This is why you feel hurt by something that somebody said or did to you, but you don't know why. You don't know where it came from. But then another person, it don't affect them that same way. Why is that? Because of your subconscious that stored everything that you went through and everything that you did and everything that's repeated. The garden, your environment creates how you think unconsciously. And when you grow up, you start to act this way. This is where God comes in and he reveals to you of who you are and how you are and why you became the way you was. This comes from the subconscious. He helps you dig deep to see why. Right now, I'm connecting this because this is how soul ties happen. Because you start going around somebody, right? And I'm gonna go to the sex part. You start going around somebody, you start communicating, right? This is why they say when you're around somebody so much, guess what happened? You can start to gain feelings with them. Why? Because it's repeated. So if you're speaking to someone on a regular, you're going to see somebody on a regular, you're hugging somebody on a regular, you're being romantic and intimate and having sex with somebody on a regular, guess what starts to happen? You start to gain a soul tie, right? You have a close friendship, you have a close connection and attachment with this person. And this is where the soul tie begins. This is how us Christians do the same thing because we are not exempt. But as Christians, this is why God comes into our lives and saves us. He saves us from the darkness, which is the information and everything that was created, that was stored up in your subconscious that the devil uses. See, the devil wants you to get attached to this person that doesn't know themselves. The devil wants you to get attached to somebody who isn't going to love you, right? He wants you to be attached to them. He wants you to be drained. He wants you to be trying to get this person to love you and care about you and trying to figure out what's going on with them and this. But guess what? Because you had sex with them. But guess what? Because you're always with them and talking to them and communicating with them and being intimate with them. Guess what? He didn't tie your soul with them. Now you don't want them to leave out of your life. Now you leaving the door open. Now you consistently allow them to text you and call you at any time. You try to break up with them, but then all of a sudden they hit you up. All of a sudden they pop up at the house. All of a sudden you miss them. All of a sudden you're lonely and you're thinking about them. How is that happening? It's because your soul is tied. But as Christians, God came to help us out of it. God came to help us see what we can't see. God came to pull us out of this pit. Now, how do we break these soul ties? How do we break these soul ties? Now, I say, for one thing is you need to close that door. That's one, right? If you got a soul tie, you need to close the door. That means you need to block that person. You need to delete that person. You need to remove them off your social media. You need to remove yourself. You need to not communicate with them, right? Because you are pulled. You have a strong attachment to this person. You are codependent on this person. And another thing, you need to learn yourself. You need to allow God to help you see. You need to pray and ask God to help you see where this is coming from. Because a lot of times, this comes from our childhood. You get what I'm saying? We didn't have our daddies there. It's a daddy issue. So as a girl, you over here looking for a father figure. Unconsciously you are. Why do I say unconsciously? Because your father was never there. Men weren't ever there really in your life growing up. So you wanted that fatherly love, but unconsciously you don't know that you actually chasing for it. So when you see a man that consistently communicates with you, that shows love to you, affection to you, that's there and want to protect you, right? Now you get attached to him. And now you can't let him go. And that's because your daddy wasn't there. That's why it's happening. You have a soul tie. You have an attachment to him because unconsciously you are chasing the love of your father and you see it in this man, right? And I know this because I did it. I wasn't chasing it in men like a woman would, but I was chasing it in because my dad wasn't there. So I was chasing it towards the streets, towards things that was being done on the streets. My cousins following bad examples in a lot of ways from other men trying to get this respect and all this love. I had my grandfather, but I did the same thing. Now, another thing could be our mother issues. Your mother wasn't there. So we're chasing that love, that nurture. You get what I'm saying? Or your mother or your father was there, but you felt neglected. Maybe they neglected you, so they weren't there as much. They didn't show you much love and care for you, so you're still chasing that thing. So your mother wasn't there, or your mother was there and didn't nurture you or care for you. So now you're searching for this love and nurture from women, right, my brothers? You're searching for this from women because your mother wasn't there, because that love wasn't there, that care wasn't there. I did that too. My mother isn't nurturing. I did that too, but I didn't realize that till later. It can happen from all other types of things. Our family wasn't nurturing. Our family wasn't caring. So we are now tying our souls to these things and these people, because it's not just people that we have soul ties with. It's the world's lies. You get what I'm saying? The world, like I was saying earlier, multiple dating. The world tells people it's okay to multiple date, not understanding what it actually does to you. Because if you consistently keep multiple dating, it can truly affect you. Not only you though, the other people. And then when you go into a relationship, your mind, you think it just stops. It doesn't stop. You can't just turn that off because that's not how your mind works, right? This is why you have to exercise. And when you go and exercise, or one day, you don't just consistently keep exercising. You got to keep pushing yourself because your mind is not used to it, right? You got to keep pushing yourself to do that. Just like if you got to change the way you eat in your diet, you got to keep pushing yourself because it hasn't turned into a habit yet. So if you're dating all these people, consistently speaking to all these people that's giving you different things, when you get into a relationship, guess what? You're going to start missing that thing. You're going to want that thing because your mind is still programmed and it is still yearning. Your soul is still yearning for multiple things, multiple love. This person was hitting you up every day and they was talking to you like this, and now you want it from this person, but that person ain't like that. Sex, why we always have these sex issues in marriages, because we having sex with all these people outside and now we comparing it to them, because when we get in there with them, our minds don't stop. Our soul and our flesh still yearns for the thing that you didn't even stop doing, and you did it with multiple people. So yeah, your soul is tied to sex. Your soul is tied to the lies that the world tells you to do. This is why God came to save us, right? To untie us from that world, to untie our souls, to save our souls and our spirits so that we can follow God, so that we can do things the right way. This is why God tells us to restrain ourselves. This is why God tells us to wait. This is why God tells us to abstain and wait to have sex, right? Don't follow the world because your soul will get tied to the world. All right. I hope this blessed y'all, man. I hope this helped y'all, man. Make sure you get yourself free from them soul ties, man. I ask God to help you in every way and get people around you. Get community around you. Get accountability around you. Fill yourself with positive love, man. With godly love, man. With godly counsel. All right? Because those people who are following God will help us when we're struggling in these other areas. All right? Hope this blessed y'all. Hope y'all wrote these notes down. I hope this helped y'all see something in some way. You stronger now. I love y'all. I'm going to get at y'all when I get at y'all.